Hello and welcome to the Daily Flock. I'm Jason Lockenfora. That's Flocky Caw. And it's just me and Flocky today. And that's fine. We've got a lot of material to get to, a lot of things I want to share with you guys, try to illuminate some things about the Ravens and a little bit of those at the end. I hope you checked out our interview with Phil Simms. I mean, really everybody who's come in has been exceptional. I'm trying to give you guys different perspectives and have these experts drill down just on the team that you guys live and die with here, the Baltimore Ravens. So again, love what we're doing here. I'm fired up. Get in the car today, a little UFO, doctor, whatever you're preparing to do. If you put on UFO, doctor, before you do it, it'll help you. There's a reason Iron Maiden comes out to that song. So anywho, we're ready to go. What are we going to talk about today besides UFO? We hinted at this with Mark Levin, former salary cap administrator for the NFLPA, the Zay Flowers contract. Is Zay Flowers really a number one wide receiver? What's Zay Flowers worth? How delicate of a situation is this for Eric DeCosta? We're going to detail that. I recently wrote at Ravens on SI about the 5 Ravens I think have the most to prove. One of whom, Roquan Smith, we've already dug deep on him. And why I think he needs to be off the field in dime packages, right? We don't just come in here with commentary and critiques. We try to tell you how to fix it, how to clean it up, like we're going to try to do for Orioles ownership today. But Roquan is one of those 5 with the most to prove. You can't not put him in there, and I think he's number 1 by far. So we'll detail that. We will rehash some of what we covered with Mark Levin and spin it forward. What are the key takeaways there as we're now a week away from OTA starting and Lamar Jackson still doesn't have a contract? I also want to go back to Eric DeCosta talking when he finally got that deal done with Lamar that took years, plural, to get done the first time. Pretty interesting. And we will finish on the Orioles. Yeah, we've got a 4-point plan, me and Flocky, how to fix the O's for 2027, because it's great they won last night. Kobe Mayo, that was awesome. They're not built to win in 2026. We're at the quarter pole. They are who they are. So a lot to get to here, and we are going to start with Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers, the most successful wide receiver draft pick in Ravens history. He's the rarest of the rare to get. I'm going to call it a second contract because at least getting that 5th-year option picked up, like, that's more than Hollywood Brown got, right? Rashad Bateman, that he got a weird second contract here, but like because he lost service time and he had that funky holdout that violated the CBA, like, and he signed way below. Like they're not paying him $28 million a year. Like they're gonna pay Zay in 2027, unless they get an extension done first and move that money around. But so it's been, for me, an unqualified success, but that doesn't mean that there aren't limitations as well as to what this player has to offer. But as always, we set expectations around here, like Ultimate Football Guy Bobby DePaul taught us, based on what guys are paid, where they're drafted, and how teams talk about their value. Let's hear from Eric DeCosta on the selection of Zay Flowers.
This was a player that I've seen a lot. I'm partial to Massachusetts. I've always liked his game, and we spent a lot of time watching him. We do a project at the end of the process, the draft process, where we assign usually between 7 to 10 players to all the scouts. And they have a chance to grade all of those players, whether they're in their area, outside their area, whatever it is, and then rank. And Zay was by far the number 1 prospect of those 8 players that we assigned last week. We brought him into Baltimore, we interviewed him, and we also interviewed him at the Combine. And he's really passed every single test. He's just an explosive, competitive, tough guy who can play outside, he can play inside. So we're very happy for him. And for the Ravens, we think he fits what we're going to do with Todd and just with the personnel that we have very well. And it was a great day.
Great selection. When you're picking that low and you get a Pro Bowl caliber player and you get it at an extreme position of need and one where you've had a blind spot selecting players and getting value for a long time, we're going to call that a win. But let's examine Zay Flowers now. The best, the areas that need work, and some of it, frankly, given his physical limitations, it is what it is. And then the projection of what this means for his contract. Let's start with the good. And I've got my notes in front of me because I'm blind as a bat and I cannot read that screen. But I know you guys have, and I don't need to hit on every single stat here because super producer Ryan has put together a beautiful graphic there. But like, what excites me, the fact that this guy got 1,211 receiving yards last year and no one on the team had 425. I'm going to repeat that. This young man in a broken ass offense with no offensive line and nobody else winning downfield except for him had 1,211 receiving yards split between two quarterbacks, right? Because Snoop played. Well, really three, because man, Cooper Rush played, although we want to forget about that. 1,211 receiving yards. Mark Andrews was second on the team at 422. Good luck, Declan Doyle. That's pretty astonishing. 29% target percentage. I love that. We knew where the ball was going almost a third of the time, fifth most among wide receivers, and he still pulled down 3 times as many receiving yards as anybody else on the team. Yards per route, real comfortable with that. First down rate, right? Percentage of catches that are first down. We're very cool with that. Top 10 wide receiver and explosives per target. In an offense where Bateman was a nothing burger last year, likely never got started. Andrews is done, although they want to keep paying him. For Zay to still be top 10 in explosives per target, almost 24%, I'm down with all that. He caught 73% of his targets last year when everybody knew where the ball was going. Top 7 among wide receivers. So we like that. But when I say he's the Ravens number 1, but not a true number 1, why is that? Well, 10.2 air yards per target, guys, 42nd among wide receivers. Like, Smith and Jigba, a guy who can win outside and win in the slot and do it despite not having ideal size, 11.25 yards per target. That's a massive chasm, right? You want to talk about elite size speed guys? Jamar Chase, we're talking towards 13 air yards per target. A lot of what Zay does is middle of the field scramble drills. He's got that innate sort of chemistry and connection with Lamar. The off-script stuff, he saves them. But I mean, we're talking about a guy who was 41st among just wide receivers. This isn't including tight ends. 41st among wide receivers in his big 1,200-yard season in red zone targets. 42nd in end zone targets. 5. Not a great drop rate. Route depth. Outside the top 30. That doesn't look like number 1 receiver stuff to me. And you can look at 3 years now of Zay Flowers and where he ranks among receivers, right? Guys get the big money, the $40 million, the $40+ million because they hit pay dirt. They end drives. They finish drives. They finish drives with exclamation points, scoring on bombs outside of the red zone. Zay Flowers, 14 touchdowns since he entered the league, 32nd among wide receivers. 30 total red zone targets, 34th. 18 end zone targets in his career, 45th among receivers over the last 3 years. Look, Monken moved him around a lot. You look at the rate he was in motion, it was elite. I think they need to continue doing that. He took 37% of his snaps in the slot last year. I'd love to see that number go up because when you drill down on Lamar and Zay in the slot, Lamar had a 129 passer rating throwing to Zay in the slot. It's not like it was terrible on the outside, but like 26 catches on 33 targets, 441 yards. No one else on the Ravens had more than 220 slot yards. I love all that. But when you put all that into the equation, and he is playing with a truly elite quarterback, and he was a part of an offense that for 2 of the last 3 years was historically significant, and you spin this forward, and the Ravens picked up that 5th-year option at almost $28 million. Mark Levin has a unique perspective on this. Every contract in the NFL came across his desk for 20 years. He understands the salary cap, and he understands the CBA, and he understands players' worth, and he wants every player to get everything they can all the time because he was paid by the Players Union for over 20 years. What did Mark Levin think about that 5th-year option and what Zay Flowers is worth?
No, I mean, I would have to assume Zay Flowers was pretty happy the day he found out they were exercising that option for 2027 at at 27 million and some change, fully guaranteed.
Yeah.
No, I mean, if he did a deal right now, he wouldn't be getting close to 30. I mean, he might get in the high 20s,
Yeah.
but that really doesn't make any sense for him because you're getting this basically the same average, and now you're adding 3 or 4 years to your contract. That wouldn't make any sense from the player perspective.
Yep.
necessarily, unless they were willing to guarantee 70 million. But if they're not willing to guarantee 250 to Lamar, I don't see them guaranteeing 70 or something million to Zay Flowers. Not yet. I mean, he's still under contract for 26
Yeah.
and 27. So
Yeah.
maybe he turns out to be, performs or gets the chance to perform a lot better than he has. But wide receiver sometimes is only as good as who his quarterback is. So
Yeah.
I think a lot of what happens with Zay Flowers in the future is going to depend on what happens with Lamar Jackson.
That's going to depend on what Declan Doyle can do as a guy who's never called a play before in his life and never installed an offense before in his life, and comes from a family tree where most of the play callers that Sean Payton has put out into the marketplace, Joe Lombardi, who's now back on this staff after failing with Matt Stafford and failing with Justin Herbert, it's just a fact. I've done the study, I've done the dive, I've done the work. That article will come out next week on Ravens on SI. Talk to people who've worked with him. Great dude, but body of work. Carmichael Jr., body of work. Johnny Morton, body of work. Dan Campbell takes over the Lions offense last year when Johnny Morton can't call plays. Turns out Dan Campbell can't either. That's the Sean Payton family tree. Joe Brady might be a thing. So this is going to be a really interesting dynamic. I don't think the Ravens are going to be in a hurry to do anything, as Mark alluded to, unless Zay Flowers is willing to, hey, why don't you give me 4 more years at 25? But why would Zay be willing to do that? So a lot of these contract situations are tied into this moment in time where they've gone from a proven, established play caller in Todd Monken, one of the best who became a head coach, to this uncertainty. Now, Phil Simms, if you missed that interview, he thinks this is much ado about nothing. And some people do. And we're going to find out. But I don't think we're going to see an extension with Zay Flowers unless the player, as Mark said, is willing to do something that would feel counterintuitive right now. I think that 27 plus million for Zay Flowers in 2027 is a little steep, as did Mark, and good for him for getting it, and good on them for selecting him. But I'm not sure we're going to get long-term contract resolution right away. Zay Flowers is not one of the 5 Ravens with the most to prove this year. And look, I didn't want to just put all the usual suspects on this list. I wrote about this at Ravens on SI last week, but there are some guys here who we've talked about on this show already, and who I wonder and kind of think the best is behind them. Ryan, if you don't mind putting up the graphic there so I can show the people what we're dealing with here before we dive down on a couple of these guys. Roquan Smith, $20 million inside linebacker, not great against the run, can't cover, really exposed in nickel and dime. If he's a leader inside that locker room, great. He's not an outward leader anymore. Kind of ran from the microphones the last few years, not a ton of accountability. Zach Orr wasn't good, and I'm sure that had a lot to do with this, and Matabike getting hurt and all that. Like, that stinks. But and again, you can go to Ravens on SI, or you can go back to go to YouTube and look at our episode list. We broke down why Roquan Smith needs to get off the field in dime situations, and how he's being picked on, and the quadrants of the field that teams are throwing on, that a lot of it is his responsibility, and how much tight ends and running backs are hurting them in the middle of the field in the passing game, and the tackles for loss are down. And not that he's there for sacks, but the pressure rate's worse than it's ever been. Solo tackle rate, like all these things trending in the wrong direction. And then obviously Mark Andrews, Marlon Humphrey, Rashad Bateman. And I kind of feel like this is a do or die year for Trent Simpson. Teddy Buchanan's already passed him by. Can he find a role or a niche in this Jesse Minter defense? And he might have a career, and I'm not by no means writing him off, but the way this roster is being constructed now, and them drafting edge and trying different things, is he a special teams guy? But let's hear from Roquan Smith on the Ravens. I think this was the In the Lounge podcast. Their in-house media. This is because we don't hear from Roquan that much sort of in the outside media since the defense took a nosedive. Here's Roquan in his own words.
Like, I'm just one of the guys that's following along in that. I feel like that's been bred here since the beginning days with Ray, Ed, all of those guys, Bart, like, you name it, the big guys up front,
Haloti and all those guys,
Syracuse,
right?
like, so
Right.
you name it. Like, I feel like that's just been bred here since the beginning, and I think that just goes back from there. And I'm just trying to be the guy in line that follows that tradition and bring it up a little notch as well, because I feel like that's a lost art in today's game, where a lot of people, like, are scared to play the game the way the game deserved to be played. And I feel like I'll never shortchange the game, and anybody that's rolling with me, which I know my guys are rolling with me, there's no shortchanging the game. So we're going to be the most physical, violent team there is out there, regardless of all the rules changes and things like that. But we're going to make sure when people play us, they're going to be like, okay, I don't want to see those guys again, like bruised up, bumped up, whatever the case may be. You're going to leave out with a couple may nots, may go away, may not.
So, and when he's at his best, that's exactly what he is. But you guys watch the games. I mean, I can give you all kinds of numbers from True Media. And again, you want to go and Google Ravens on SI, Roquan Smith, dime package. It's going to pull an article up that details a lot of it. But the eye test, the way the team's responding, breaking down a huddle, early series in games, is there that thumping, momentum changing, bam? Like, how many momentum shifting plays? I'm not talking about, like, I'm just talking about a tackle at the line of scrimmage, like a thumper. Like, it hasn't been there. And there's no doubt in my mind that his intent is there, whether it's physical, whether it's all the snaps he's played, whether it's coming up on age 30, playing a position that running backs and inside linebackers is a reason why you talk about him at 30 and we focus on the offensive side, but it has the same effect defensively, all those collisions, everything. Is Jesse Minter going to be able to unlock him, or do they have to turn back the knob on him playing every single snap all the time and be a little more situational about it? But they're locked in with him at $20 million a year. The other guy that I want to focus on here, and again, if you guys like the list, don't like the list, like the articles, don't like the articles, email me, flock off @gmail.com. Mark Andrews, because look, Roquan's here because they gave him an extension that, frankly, he hasn't come close to living up to the last 2 years. And he's still here at that number because it's fully guaranteed, $20 million. They can't do anything if they wanted to. And you're not going to see them restructure that, because I think internally they have to have concerns about what that could mean. Age 30, Roquan still here because of a contract. So I think they're going to play this out, and it's very much a look-see. They gave Mark Andrews an extension. I hated it in real time. I thought they were rubbing it on Isaiah Likely's face because the ship had sailed with him. Why you would do that in season while you're fighting for the playoffs? Because nobody's signing Mark Andrews, because nobody wanted to give you a 4th round or probably even a 5th round pick for him the year before when you were peddling on him at the end of his contract. But they went ahead and did it. And look, the whole offense wasn't good last year except for Zay Flowers. I get it. But if you're wondering why I have so much concern with Mark Andrews, let's take a look at some of these numbers. Now, look, these are tight end ranks. These are not wide receivers in here as well. This isn't pass catcher. This guy had 8.8 yards per reception. All right, it fell off from like 12.4 and like 12.6 the year before that. Like, there's nothing explosive about his game. Not at all. I mean, you want to look at air yard conversion, 42nd among tight ends. No bueno. He's not even really moving the chains, right? 31st among tight ends and first downs per target. We know there have been critical drops. We know he's never scored a playoff touchdown in his life. You want to look at adjusted yards per route run. Let's really drill down on where this guy's moving downfield. 30th among tight ends, not pass catchers. Success rate, 38th among tight ends. He cannot leap like he used to. He's become a better blocker, but he ain't in the league to block, and he's not winning downfield anymore, and he's not even really a function of the offense downfield anymore. The scramble drill guy was likely. And then explosives, forget about it. It's just not happening. It's not even really happening with Yak, but he's making $13 million. I don't love the construction of the tight end room around him. We've written and talked about Hibner. I think he will get in certain explosive packages where they want to throw downfield at a heavy personnel, but he's not an every down guy. He's nowhere near an every down guy. And I think Cuevas can do more than him, but Cuevas isn't going to be as explosive. So maybe all that in its totality. I do like the blocking tight end they signed. Matches up, but I think an ascending Charlie Kohler and an Isaiah Likely would have been a hell of a lot better combination, and I'd have given that $13 million elsewhere than Mark Andrews. But a lot is on Mark Andrews' plate. Look, Rashad Bateman, I think it's a sunk cost. He's been here quite some time. He's had 1 year where he's looked like a starting caliber receiver, and the other years, frankly, he's been an energy vampire. And we'll see about Trenton Simpson. Marlon, he got easier because of his contract. I mean, right now he's set to make 19.25. They've already picked up the $4 million roster bonus. Like, boy, he ain't playing anywhere near $19 million for me. At some point, I would imagine they get around to lowering that base salary. So you want to read more about those guys, or really read more about the Ravens. Ravens on SI. Okay, let's get into what we learned from Mark Levin and this Lamar saga that is ongoing. And if people want to tell you there's nothing to see here, then why wasn't the deal done a year ago? Why wasn't the deal done after the season? Why wasn't the deal done? If it's nothing to see here, why wasn't it done when the owner came out and said we should get it done before free agency? Why isn't it done with OTAs right around the corner? Why did they do a max restructure when they didn't have to? Why do they go to war with their franchise quarterback for years for him to get a fair market deal? But Buffalo every 18 months does what normal teams do with Josh Allen. It's all just facts. Let's go back a couple years. The same day that the Ravens drafted Zay Flowers, they finally got that Lamar contract extension done 3 years ago. So if you're wondering why DeCosta's in the same outfit for these clips from the first one with Zay, if you're super observant, the kind of people who would be like, dude, stop saying drill down. And that was me doing it to myself. But I would notice. Flocky would notice. The reason DeCosta's in the same outfit, this was the same press conference. Eric DeCosta, after the long, arduous, collusion-filled Lamar Jackson contract extension was finally complete.
You know, I think it's just one of those things, like sometimes you just need time. These things develop, and, you know, as I said, I think I've said it a few times, sometimes these things can happen in 2 weeks, and sometimes it takes 2 years, and this was on that scale. But, you know, I know that our appreciation and love for Lamar has really never wavered, but it was business as well. And, you know, I said today, and I feel that way. Sometimes with family, things can get tough, right? And we all feel that sometimes. When you're in a fight with your parents or a sibling, or you're trying to figure something out, and it's like the emotion of it. And there was definitely some emotion. But in the end, we've been blessed to have Lamar as part of this organization for a long time. We've won a lot of football games. I think he feels this place is special too. And, you know, it was business. It wasn't personal. And I think over time, that's kind of what developed.
So, fairly visceral reaction there. A arduous, long process, and history is repeating. And Ryan, if we could play that other clip, because you could see how worn out DeCosta and everybody was by this. And again, I put it on them. It's their onus when you have a player of this caliber who's never made real money. He's on a rookie wage scale. And you've got to enact fifth-year options and franchise tags and not just pay him what he's worth after year 3 because, oh, my God, he's one of the generational quarterbacks in this league and is going to go down as an all-time great. I put it on them. Player doesn't have to do anything. They were all sort of spent, and they were all kind of wiping their brow, which, again, makes me wonder, how is history repeating? But let's hear some more from Eric DeCosta when they finally put that contract to bed.
It's been a challenge in a lot of ways. But I will say this, we have a lot of awesome people that work with me and get to spend time with them. And they've been, you know, I've gotten pep talks at different times. They make me laugh. I'm very appreciative. I've been here my whole career. And so I really have an appreciation for the culture of this place and what it means to me. And I guess that's one of the reasons why I think I tend to put a lot of pressure on myself in situations like this, because I've been here forever. And it means more to me than, this organization means more to me than just a job. And so the weight of that, it means a lot. So I do feel that way. I think I'll have more appreciation for it probably on Sunday, how I feel. I know my family will probably sense it. These guys will sense it. I'll get back to more practical jokes, which I haven't been able to do quite as much over the last year. I've done some, but not as many. We'll get back to that. And just
We're all excited about that.
Yeah. I think more of a normal kind of, NFL career awaits.
So it clearly took a toll. Since that press conference 3 years ago, the guy went out and won another MVP and should have won back-to-back. You're now at a point where you've gone from an experienced staff to a staff that has no resume, by and large. The key guys doing the job they've done. The head coach never been a head coach. The OC's never been an OC. And we're here. And you're telling me this is normal. You're telling me that they wouldn't have just when Dak got done, or especially after Josh Allen gets done last year, just say, hey, what do you want? You want the $62 million fully guaranteed for 5. You care more about the guarantee at signing and not the average value. Here's 4 different templates, Lamar. You pick one, but all of them are going to make you number one in various categories. Let's get this to bed quickly this time, so you don't have to ask for a trade again. So Mark Levin was a part of that negotiation last time around, and it was long. How surprised is Mark Levin that here we are again, not done when Josh Allen is done, still not done as we speak?
So again, I don't work in the Ravens front office. I don't know what they're thinking.
Yeah.
It certainly was a prime opportunity to get Lamar extended again.
Yeah.
Did they have to make him the highest paid above Dak? Maybe not. I mean, I don't know. I didn't, since I left the PA a year ago, I have not spoken to Lamar.
Right.
So I have no idea what's in Lamar's head this time around. I have no idea what the Ravens are thinking. But based on my experience, it seems like it was a prime opportunity to get a deal done. You have Lamar with huge cap numbers before he did his deal back on March 10th. They had these huge cap numbers this year and in 2027 already. It was a prime opportunity to tear that contract up. Give Lamar another extension, give him some really good guarantees, because Josh Allen has the highest guarantees at $250 million in his guarantee, and Dak is at the highest average per year at $60 million. So
why are we here again? Because they haven't given him what he wants. They're not willing to give him what he wants. Maybe they don't think he's worth what he wants. They didn't think he was worth what he wanted until the last time when he got damn close to Deshaun Watson, but not everything. But he did get a no trade, and he did get a no tag. And he now has a $90 million cap hit in 2027, which means if the Ravens don't get it done by week 1, everybody in the league is going to be talking even more than they are about, is Lamar going to ask for a trade, and where does Lamar go next? Mark knows, and he said on the podcast, that Lamar didn't use that no trade demand as a means to an end. He did it because he was pretty pissed off about where things stood and how long it was taking him to get where he wanted to go with Steve Bisciotti, with Sashi Brown, with Eric DaCosta. Could history repeat on the trade front?
It wouldn't surprise me at all. Now, again, does it happen? Who knows? But it would not surprise me one bit, especially if they're still, especially if behind the scenes they're still talking long-term deal and they're not getting anywhere. So that's the part we don't really know. At least I don't know.
Right.
Maybe you've heard if they're talking or not. I don't know.
Well, Eric says they're talking, but he doesn't want to say a whole lot about it. And,
yeah. Well, I mean,
he acted like it was a national holiday when he showed up for a photo op to, lift some weights on the first day of the workout program. They say they're talking. So again, OTA's around the corner. I'm not going to go crazy about Lamar being there or not being there. If they give enough of a financial motivation for him to be there for voluntary things, he'll be there. Maybe they get this done before then. Boy, that would be great. But I think they start next Wednesday. So where do we really stand? Like, there seem to be 2 outcomes here. They get this done before the season starts. And if that doesn't happen, they either give him everything he wants right after the season ends because that cap number is untenable, or they trade him.
Without having any knowledge that there's serious talks going on an extension still right now, I'd say he plays the season out on the renegotiated deal. He doesn't get traded during the season. or before the season, and something happens, whether he gets traded on the first day of the league year next year, or if he has let's just say he has a really bad year and the team is 4-13. I don't think that's going to happen. But if it does, uh, I'm not saying they could release him, but his contract is, because there's nothing guaranteed next year, and they're already counting a huge cap number against him. It's not only a tradable contract, it's a releasable contract. But again, I don't think the Ravens would put themselves in the position where they get rid of him without getting anything back.
Yes.
I think they would trade him, even though they may not get what they want out of a trade. They want to get something.
Yeah. They love them some comp picks, but Lamar leaving for a 2028 comp pick, that's not happening. So we'll see. Again, OTAs around the corner. Big win for the O's last night. They now have 3 wins this season against winning teams. 2 of them are back-to-back, though. Beat the A's, beat the Yankees. So that's progress. But the product is obviously poor. They hit the 40-game mark in last place. That's the quarter pole. It's not Memorial Day. In last place in the AL East. They have a bottom 5 starting rotation. They are a bottom 3 fielding team in any metric you want to use in Major League Baseball. They don't have pieces that fit. And the toughest part of their schedule awaits because they haven't faced many winning teams to this point. But boy, a ton of divisional games are ahead. And don't look now, but Toronto's completely out of the crapper and pushing towards 500. The Rays are a juggernaut. I mean, they'll cool off, but they're a juggernaut now. And the Red Sox have played better ball since they fired Alex Cora, and that started right about the time Mike Elias talked about his product. The O's are 7-11 since Mike Elias tried to make excuses for them and sell you this S sandwich.
I think we all wish our record was better, but a lot of positive things happening with the play. I mean, I think that the effort and the character and resiliency we're kind of seeing out on the field is good. I think the talent level on the team is impressive to me and has me really being optimistic. But I think the flow of the play, there's a lot that we can do to be more consistent and kind of clean up and get working better as a machine. And that's a process for a lot of teams early, it seems like, this year, and I'd count us amongst them. I mean, we're okay, but we wish we were doing better and we want to play better, and this is our first AL East series, so it's huge.
Yeah, they lost 2 of 3 and lost 17-1 to the Red Sox, and they still fired Alex Cora. Look, it's a bad product. It's so bad that the 2 days a week that they play clean baseball, that's the story. Like, wow, no wild pitches, no pass balls, no catchers threw a throw into center field. The cutoffs worked. People were on second base, standing there, hugging the bag when they needed to. Nobody got thrown out at third. Nobody got picked off. Like, that's where we are, and that's not good enough. And the 2026 season it's going to be a wash. They're not going to overcome their fielding and their pitching woes in real time. And we don't just, Flock and I bitch and moan here at the Daily Flock. Again, we offer solutions. So an ownership group that has been asleep at the wheel and has basically co-signed all these people. John Angelo's the worst owner ever. But Jennifer Grandal, and I mean, there's so many people with more power. Mike Elias, Sigma, more power than they had when Elias brought him in. What's that all about? So if you want to take ownership of your product and you want to start saving 2027 if there's not a lockout and beyond, I've got a 4-point plan to do so. It's all laid out in that article at Orioles on SI. It starts with firing Mike Elias, and I'll tell you, present the case why doing it now matters, because they're going to mess around with Jackson Holliday at third base, because they're going to call up Trey Gibson, their prized number 1 pitching prospect, and then put him into high leverage situations when he's never pitched out of the bullpen in his minor league career. Like, they're going to keep doing all this jackassery night after night after night at the expense of players and development and their mindset. Adley's going to catch 1 of every 2. Like, Adley's on pace to catch 78 games this year. Like, really? We're going to let this continue? when he's finally producing. So I've got a 4-point plan. It does include firing Mike Elias and Sig Mejdal and Matt Blood right now, getting the minor league system on par with the rest of quality player development systems where guys don't play 3 positions a week. Starting pitchers go into the 6th inning in the minors and actually build their arms up. There are things that are tearing at the fabric of this organization every single day, that the longer you keep these people employed, the worse and the harder it gets. Go back and listen to what Mike Bordick had to say about all this. So yeah, and it also includes getting Adley Rutschman on the trade market ASAP. So we will talk more about the O's through the week. We will have some O's guests for you next week. Really excited about the rest of this week's shows. We're going to talk to tomorrow Nick Novak. He a Terp, former Terps kicker, former NFL kicker. He now is a kicking consultant. He goes all over the country. He works with established kickers. He works with young kickers. He works with college kickers. He consults with teams. Tyler Loop, big looper, mentally, physically, what's he going through? Should he have competition there? We're going to drill down on all that with Nick Novak. We'll also talk about preview the Ravens schedule, have some other things going on the next couple days. And then Friday, we will have a nice chat with Pat Ricard and put a bow on his Ravens career. We will break the schedule down. I did a deep dive on Ravens payroll. We will discuss that on the show, and you can find all the content at Ravens on SI and Orioles on SI. So thank you for tuning in. As always, again, you can email me, flock you, flock me, flockoff@gmail.com. You can find us on socials. Please subscribe, no matter how you're consuming this. It'd be great if you subscribe. You won't miss a thing on YouTube. YouTube.com/@BigPlayBaltimore. Flocky says, call. And we will see you tomorrow with Nick the Kick Novak.